Okay, this is a follow-up video to the stereo install on a Wolverine. This is a 2020 Yamaha Wolverine X4. So instead of just cutting a hole, which I did previously in the factory dash to put this radio in, now I'm going to put a plate. I'm just going to fill this full area in. You can go all the way up to the top as well where these switches are. There is a bit of a bevel here. Not going to be an issue if you want to do that. For now, I may do that in the future, but for now, I'm just going to put in a plate right here where the stereo is. And I may actually move the stereo over a little bit to allow more space for future switches over there. But what that'll do, when you need to get to the back of the radio, right now, I'm having to take apart the full inner, we'll call it the firewall, but this full panel here, I'm having to take that off and get down in between the transmission intake tube and disconnect everything and pull the radio. And I'll tell you, if you have to do that it sucks. So to make it easier to access things behind that radio from here on out, including the back of these switches, I'm going to take this radio out. I've already disconnected all the wires from the back of it and pull that out. I'm going to cut this area out here, leaving a bit of a lip so that we can screw the panel that I'm making in on top of it. And that way in the future, we'll just pull that panel down. We can access all of our stereo wires. We can access the back of these switches. It's just going to be a lot easier if you ever have to reach back in here. And even these switches down here in the factory locations, it'd be a lot easier. Okay, and so what I did, I went on, I can't remember if it's Amazon or eBay, but I bought just a piece of 1/8 inch ABS sheet. It is 12 inches by 6 inches, which is a little bit larger than the space I need to fill. If I wanted to go all the way up to that beveled section where my switches were up top, I'm probably have to order a 12 by 12 section and cut it down. But this is a 12 by 6 section. I've cut this size. The size I need is going to be 10 1/4 by, I believe, 4 3/8, or you could do 4 1/4 as well. But I've already cut the side piece off here, and so we'll take that off. Now I'm down to 10 1/4. Next, I'm going to cut off here to make me a section here that's 4 3/8. And what we're doing here, if you ever work with ABS, you know how to do this. If not, I'll give you a quick tip. You can cut it, or in this case, you can see I put a little line here. And what that is, I measured the distance I needed, which was 4 1/4. Came in with my square, marked all the way, and I didn't mark. What I just held that in place and took a pocket knife. You can also use a razor blade. And all I did, I used the back side or the cutting side, either one, and just scored a line. And after that line is there, I came back real slow and just kept scoring that line over and over. And then you don't have to cut it all the way through. You can keep going till you cut it. But what I'll end up doing, I'm going to put it right here on this edge, and then you just break this piece off, and it'll be a clean break. And that's what I did on, I can't even remember which side I cut now, but that's what I did to get that small section off. So I've already scored this, so let me break that off now. All right, so we're going to break this off here. You can clamp it down. Probably would be better to clamp it. Or you can just do what I'm going to do and just keep firm pressure here to keep it from coming up. And we're just going to keep pushing on these edges. It's not the easiest thing to do. The more you score it, the easier it'll be. Let's go ahead and snap this off. Just like that. Clean break. I don't know if you can see that on there, but that's very clean. It's got just a little bit of a raised edge. We can clean that off with a pocket knife, sander, whatever you want. It is ABS. This will be the back side. ABS usually comes like this, shiny side. I'm going to put that on the back. I'm going to put the texture side out. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out this plate, or cut out the location for the plate. And if you see, I've left about a 1/4 inch space from the beveled edge in the bottom and on the sides. And actually on the sides, I just went to the outside of these factory holes and scored a line on both sides. Don't go all the way to the corners. I'm going to give myself about a 45-degree bevel here. That gives material for me to put a rivet, or not a rivet, but a screw in to hold that plate in. If I had not already cut out the hole previously for my radio, I think it'd been smart to leave a bit of a hump here on the center to put another screw, that we could have 2 screws on each outside edge and 2 screws in the middle to hold that plate in. But since I have already cut that hole, I can't do that. So anyway, I've started scoring around the perimeter here. And for this, I did start out with my pocket knife. I'm going to finish up with a razor blade and just keep going very slowly, because if you try to go fast, it'll slip out of the groove, and you may score across a place you don't want to. Just take your time with this. I guess you could use a cutoff tool of some sort if you can get in there, but just be very careful. This is not ABS plastic on the dash. It may be polypropylene or something. It's a softer plastic. So again, I'm just going to keep scoring across those lines until I start cutting through. So this is a lot softer than ABS, so you have to be careful. I'm almost done here. The last cut. All right, so I've decided to put my stereo off to the right side, to the passenger side. And so I went on the back. I don't know if you can see that. I've scored the circle. It's like 3.65 inches for the Rockville Marine radio I'm using. I drilled some holes in the four corners there. I'm going to use a jigsaw, and just slowly work my way around this. You could also do it with a knife or razor blade and just keep working your way through. Again, it's ABS, so it's harder plastic. It'd take a while. You can also see where I drilled my holes, 4 little holes in the corners here. Those are at, I think, 3/8 maybe? 3/16. Doesn't look like 3/8. I think it's at 3/16 inches in on from each corner. Okay, so let me get the jigsaw going, and we'll cut this out. I'll probably have to come back and sand some of that to fit, because I'm probably going to cut it just a little bit small, but I prefer to cut it small and sand it out than cut it too large. All right, the thing with ABS is it gets hot and melts back to itself. So I may have to go back through that again. Yep, I'm gonna have to come back through there again. Let's see, it still melted a little bit. I believe the blade was getting hot, and so it just ends up fusing back to itself. Okay, that's not the cleanest cut because of the ABS melting. I will clean that up with some sandpaper. Again, if you use a Dremel or like a rotary sander, that'll get hot and start melting the ABS again. So probably just take my time there by hand, clean that up. We're also going to test fit that. Okay, I just test fit this. It fits good. I'm going to clean up that little bit of flashing there where the ABS melted. But I did notice that these areas here are very thin and flex quite a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works after the radio's in. Of course, the radio, when it goes in, there'll be a clamp bracket that comes to the back here. And we'll just see how much flex we still have after that. I may need to take some ABS strips, cut some of this down into like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch strips, and maybe fuse some of it to the back there. It is, as you saw, ABS melts back to itself. So we can do the same there, and I think you can use acetone to melt it and maybe reinforce that. But we'll see. Hopefully I won't have to do that. Okay, I got the radio in there, and with that clamp on, or the bracket that holds it in place, that is quite a bit firmer because it clamps it down on each side. So your weak point's not in the middle, it's actually on the outside edges here. So that looks pretty good. We're going to get that back in the machine, and then we'll pretty much be done with this part. Okay, back in on the dash of the X4. I drilled 4 holes in the corners to line up with the holes on the plate. And I've also put these retainers, I'm not sure what you call them, they're the little metal clips, and the screws will go through those into the back so that we're not just screwing into the plastic and expecting the plastic to hold. So we'll put those in, everything's wired up, and so now all we have to do is put this plate back on. Okay, there it is, all in. Of course, out of the 4 screws, 1 in each corner, it does make it a little weak, just a little bit weak in the middle. Had I not put my radio in the middle first, I would have probably done a little notch down there and put a 6 screws, 2 more, 1 top, 1 bottom there to have a total of 6. But there you go. Now if I need to get behind the dash, I can just take those 4 screws out, and I have access to my wiring harness and everything there, whereas before I had to take the, we'll call it the firewall, out and go in from behind. So that should be much easier access the next time I need to go in there. Thanks for watching.